Tuesday, October 17, 2023. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. On the news this afternoon, flood victims in Oyibo IDP camp concerned about children's education. Rising crime worries residents of River State. Federal government proposed 26.01 trillion naira for 2024 budget amid rising inflation. Former CBN Deputy Governor recommends 50% pay cut for politicians. Senate President denies involvement in removal of Senator Elisha Abo. And on the foreign scene, India's Supreme Court declines to legalize same-sex marriages. I am King Ife Moyoli with the news. More than 200 flood victims in Oyibo local government area of River State are now camped at the IDP camp. This comes after floods ravaged part of the local government area. The chairman of the Flood Management Committee in Oyibo local government area, Temple Wanko, tells our correspondent that the IDP camp is sited at the state primary school in Oyibo West.
We've been doing our best to ensure that take the proactive measures first. We prepare as much as we can to make sure that we have a very nice IDP camp. By God's grace, we have, as we speak to you, we have a lot of inmates there. We have 2 nurses, we have a medical doctor that is here. Not that we are not praying for such incidents, but if it occurs, we assure you that we are really prepared for it. We're expecting the state government also respond as regards to the promises they've made to support the local government. All this helps us and little money to prepare the IDP camp, which was not enough.
Some of the flood victims inside the IDP camp spoke about the impact of the flood on their children's education. They appealed to the state government for help.
As it stands, you can't go in that place. If you must go there, that means either you use a canoe or you stand out. The estate there is called Osofia. The whole of that place has been submerged.
For my home, the water reached me for inside room. It reached me for west. I don't stay reach 2 weeks. I dey eat food once before I go work, night walk.
The flood really affected me seriously. It damaged a lot of things, This is my first experience.
Actually, just like every other person, it took us unawares, and we got to realize ourselves when it got to a point where we couldn't even access our homes again. And
after we went for our business and go to the house, we could not even enter because there was no road to enter house.
Our correspondent reports that a heavily armed local vigilante or SPAC was seen providing security in the area. Caterers were also seen preparing meals for the flood victims. In another development, a Port Harcourt resident, Osagir Sylvester, has raised alarm that some individuals who claim to be affiliated with the River State Task Force extort motorists around the Garrison Waterlines flyover. In an interview with our correspondent, Mr. Sylvester said he was intercepted by these men who wore no uniforms and was accused of violating traffic rules because his vehicle contained tires instead of passengers. He said his vehicle was seized and the battery was forcibly removed. Mr. Sylvester said he was made to pay 8,500 naira before his vehicle was released to him.
I was driving towards Garrison via Waterline. Some boys accosted me under the Garrison flyover. Pounced on me, collected my car. All my documents are complete. Everything is complete in the vehicle. He said that I carried tires inside the vehicle instead of human beings. I said, it's a private car. They said that's not the law, that if I want to carry my personal goods, I should look for vehicle to carry my goods. But for not the plea, 8,500 was what they collected from me, as if I committed a crime. I don't just understand. I don't understand what these boys are turning this state into.
He said the ununiformed men work from a tent-covered office by the roadside. He called on the police and River State government to look into the unlawful extortion and harassment of citizens by some men alleged to be officers of the state task force. The coordinator of River State Response Team on Violence Against Women and Children, Tombari Dumkakote, says there is no justification for inflicting violence against anyone regardless of their gender. Mr. Dumka Kota said this while reacting to the recent news of 2 women in the state who attacked their husbands with hot oil and hot water. leaving their husbands hospitalized. He said those who commit acts of violence must be held responsible for their actions and face the appropriate legal measures.
The acts are condemnable because they are being carried out by women against men. We won't say there is any justification for it. They will face the same punishment, irrespective of what would have happened between them as a spouse. Anyone who has perpetrated violence, be you a man or a woman, that person will have to face the law, as in regards to the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law 2020. Like as it is, pouring of harmful substance on anyone upon conviction is imprisonment for life.
He also emphasized the importance of raising awareness about the harmful effect of gender-based violence.
It's sad and it is condemnable. It's not what any society should tolerate. The right thing would have been to explore either the traditional or the legal means available. The opportunities are open for the person to seek other forms of redress than taking the law into his or her hands. Society also have a major role to play, which is more of trying to see to possible ways of resolving issues of violence arising around our areas of residence and domain.
Away from that, stakeholders in the Niger Delta region are assessing the progress and impact of the Presidential Amnesty Program, 14 years after its establishment by the federal government. The amnesty program was initially introduced by the late President Musa Yar'Adua to reintegrate former agitators in the region, transforming them into entrepreneurs and employable citizens to address unrest in the oil-rich region. However, stakeholders say the intended objectives have not been fully realized. Former agitator Nature Dumale Kiege says none of the 30,000 beneficiaries have successfully been reintegrated into society. Mr. Kiege, who is also the chairman of the Presidential Amnesty Program Strategic Communications Committee, tells correspondent Emeka Otoka that the promises made to former agitators before they were disarmed have not been fulfilled. He said that a majority of beneficiaries rely on a monthly stipend of 60,000 naira for sustenance.
It has not achieved its purpose and intent. The reason is that the agreement they had with us was that they are going to train and engage people. But as it stands now, they are not engaging people they have trained. So it's looking as if it's a circle. You train somebody, the person is not employed. It's looking as if nothing has happened. In as much as they have not achieved in totality the reason why it was granted, it's not also a total failure. But there's something I want to quickly point out to, and that is the Niger Delta Recovery Plan. As it were, there are certain areas the amnesty program has been dragged into that ought not to be so.
Mr. Kage, however, said there is a positive outcome from the scholarship aspect of the program.
But I also don't want to completely say that the federal government have not done their part. They have done their part in terms of funding. And because of that, we have had many of the ex-administrators become pilots today, graduates today, lawyers today, PhD holders today, as a result of the scholarship part of the Presidential Amnesty Program. So, in essence, the program is not a complete failure. And so, having said this, I'm going to score the Presidential Amnesty Program 60 out of 100 because of scholarships we have. In terms of reintegration, that is where we are now. It is very poor.
He also highlighted a recent breakthrough in the introduction of a loan facility by the current program administrator.
In terms of reintegration, that is where we are now. It is very poor because many people have not been able to be reintegrated back to society, reconciled back to family and communities where these agitations take place. And so that is a serious challenge for the Presidential Amnesty Program. Having said all this, I also want to use the opportunity to appreciate Major General Ndiomo, the present interim administration of the Presidential Amnesty Program, who came up with this Pacoso loan. The delegates are giving money to start up little businesses that they will grow over the years for them to become entrepreneurs and self-employed. Over 100 and something people have been captured in the first phase.
Also speaking on this, a lecturer at the Ignatius Ajuru University of Education, Elechi Wabara, regretted that despite the presidential amnesty program, issues like youth unrest, illegal oil bunkering and social vices have continued to plague the region.
The amnesty program, as it were, did not achieve the purpose for which it was established. That is to the point that everybody can see. In the first instance, successes are being measured. So to what extent can we say or measure the success of amnesty program? Have we been able to succeed in having youth restiveness reduced? The answer is no. Can we boldly say today that bunkering and other social vices are now reduced to the minimum? It's still there and making more success than the amnesty program itself. So
Dr. Nwabara suggests the government redirect the amnesty funds towards establishing industry, creating employment opportunities, and boosting the nation's revenue.
They are seeing it as a money-making venture. At the end of the month, they are expecting allowance, whatever that is being paid to them. They are seeing it as more of that kind of empowerment. They are not accepting it wholeheartedly as a means of a new life, as a means of a new livelihood. The money that is channeled to this amnesty should have been used to create industries, and it will accommodate people. And the success, it can be measurable. When you create industry, you accommodate people, you have people with different skills. They can be engaged.
Moving on now, the Federal Executive Council FEC has proposed the sum of 26.01 trillion naira for the 2024 fiscal year to be submitted to the National Assembly. The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, told State House correspondent that the federal government will maintain the January to December budget implementation cycle.
Assumptions include oil price benchmark, which I said for 2024, we are assuming 73.96, oil production of 1.78 million barrels,